Staying connected, right. It's
Hmm.
so important. And, WhatsApp, it's become like huge
Yeah.
for keeping in touch with everyone. But to be honest, like
Yeah.
figuring out a brand new app, it
I
can
found.
feel a little
Yeah.
overwhelming, especially maybe if
Yeah.
you're not
Yeah.
super tech savvy.
Exactly.
So that's why we're doing this whole deep dive focusing on WhatsApp. And we've got a great resource today,
Yeah.
a really helpful ebook called WhatsApp Guide for Seniors by Duncan. We're going to break it all down, make it super easy to understand, and help you feel comfortable using WhatsApp to connect with all those friends and family.
Yeah. Our goal is to walk you through it, like a step-by-step guide to getting started with WhatsApp.
Exactly. We'll cover everything, downloading the apps, sending those messages, making calls, even how to stay safe online, plus some really practical tips and tricks. So let's dive right in. First things first. Got to get the app on your phone, right?
Right. So the guide starts with the basics, like how to download it. If you're on an iPhone, you go to the App Store,
Makes sense.
and if you're on an Android,
Right.
you'll head over to the Google Play Store.
Okay.
And in either store, just search for WhatsApp.
Hmm.
You'll see the little green icon with a white speech bubble and a phone inside.
Yeah, I recognize that one.
Yep. Once you see it, just tap install or
Yeah.
and after it downloads, you open it up, and then we'll get into the setup.
Okay, so that's pretty straightforward, like installing any app. So now it's on your phone, you open it up. What happens next? You gotta set up your profile, right?
Right. So the first thing WhatsApp is going to ask for is your phone number. After you enter that, they send you a verification code.
Hmm,
It comes through as an SMS, a regular text message,
gotcha.
and you just type that code into WhatsApp, and that verifies it's really your number.
Oh, okay.
And then you get to add your name so people know who they're talking to, and you can add a profile picture too if you want.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Entirely optional, though.
So download, verify your number with that code, add your name, and boom, you're in. Now, what about actually talking to people, sending a message? How does that work?
All right, so for starting conversations, you usually have a Chats tab, and there's a new chat icon, often a little green circle with a white speech bubble.
Okay.
You'll usually find it down at the bottom of the screen.
All right.
You tap that, and then you can choose someone from your contacts or enter their phone number if they're not saved in your phone yet.
Easy enough. So you've tapped the icon, found your friend or family member. What's next?
So once you're in that chat window, you'll see a text field at the bottom, and that's where you type your message.
Gotcha.
Just type away, and then hit the send button, usually an arrow, to send it off. And you know what's really cool? It's super easy to share photos and videos, too. Imagine being able to instantly share a picture of, like, your grandkid's birthday party with your friends.
Oh, yeah. I love getting those. So much better than just a text message. So how do you actually send a photo?
Within the chat, you'll look for either a paperclip icon that's common on Android phones or a plus sign, usually on iPhones.
Okay.
You tap that, and it'll give you some options. One of them will be to go to your phone's gallery where your photos and videos are stored. You just select the photo or video you want to share and hit send. It's such a nice way to stay connected, especially if you live far apart from your loved ones.
That's so true. I can't imagine not seeing regular pictures of my niece and nephew. Now, what about actually hearing someone's voice or seeing their face? How do you make a call on WhatsApp?
Yes, so for voice and video calls, within a chat, you'll often see a phone icon at the top. Tap that, and it starts a voice call, just like a regular phone call, but using the internet.
Okay.
And right next to it, you'll probably see a video camera icon. Tap that to start a video call so you can actually see the person you're talking to.
Oh, nice. So, phone icon for a voice call, video camera for a video call. That seems pretty intuitive. Now, the guide also talks a lot about staying safe online, which is super important these days, especially if you're not as familiar with all the ins and outs of the internet.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So the guide really stresses being cautious with any messages that ask for personal information or money, like passwords or bank details. Legitimate organizations like your bank or the government, they rarely use WhatsApp to ask for that kind of sensitive information.
That's good to know. Are there any other red flags to watch out for?
Yeah, like if a message has a bunch of spelling mistakes or the language just seems really off, that could be a sign it's not genuine. And probably the most important rule, never ever click on suspicious links in a message, especially if you don't recognize the sender.
That's good advice for anyone, really. So what if you do come across a suspicious contact or get a message that seems fishy? What should you do?
So the guide explains how to block and report a contact. If you're in a chat with someone you think might be a problem, you tap those three dots at the top right of the chat window, then select More. You'll see an option to block them, which stops them from contacting you again.
Okay, and what about reporting them?
Yeah, you'll often see a report option there too. That sends a report to WhatsApp about that person, which helps them track down scammers and keep the platform safe for everyone.
That's good to know. Okay, now beyond the basics, the guide also has some helpful tips for making the most of WhatsApp. What are some of those?
So one simple but useful tip is how to update your profile picture. If you decide you want a new one, you just go to Settings in WhatsApp, tap your current picture at the top, and you should see an Edit option
Okay.
that lets you choose a new photo from your phone's gallery.
Easy peasy. And what about group chats? Those can be really handy for staying in touch with multiple people at once.
Absolutely. To create a new group, you usually tap that same new chat icon we talked about earlier, and there's usually an option that says New Group. You can then add the people you want in the group.
Yeah.
And the guide also tells you how to leave a group if you don't want to be in it anymore. Just open the group chat, tap those three dots again, and you'll find an exit group option.
That's really helpful, especially if you get added to a group that's just too active and your phone's blowing up with notifications. Now, what about managing your chats? Sometimes it can get a little cluttered, right?
Right, so the guide talks about archiving and deleting chats. Archiving just hides a chat from your main chat list without deleting it completely.
Okay.
To do that, you long press on the chat and then tap the archive icon, usually a box with a downward arrow.
Gotcha.
If you want to completely delete a chat in all its messages, you long press on it and tap the delete icon, which usually looks like a trash can.
All right, archive to hide, delete to erase permanently. Important distinction. Now, what about privacy? How much control do you have over who sees what on your profile?
So for privacy settings, you go to Settings, then Account, then Privacy, and there you can control a lot of things like who can see your profile picture, your status, and even your last seen and online status.
Oh, right, the last seen thing. That's the one that tells people when you were last using WhatsApp, right? What are the options for that?
Yeah, so for both last seen and online status, you can choose between everyone, my contacts, or nobody. The guide suggests that if you want a little more privacy, you might want to limit last seen to just your contacts.
That makes sense.
That way, only people whose numbers you saved can see when you were last online.
Okay, good tip. Now, even with a great guide, sometimes things can go wrong. What does the ebook say about troubleshooting common issues?
Right. So one common problem is getting locked out of WhatsApp. If that happens, the guide says to try restarting your phone and making sure you have a good internet connection.
Okay.
If that doesn't work, they suggest uninstalling the app and then reinstalling it, which can sometimes fix things.
And what about updates? Those are important too, right?
Definitely. Updates often have important security fixes and new features. The guide says to regularly check the App Store or Google Play Store for updates and install them whenever they're available.
Good to know. Now, before we wrap up, you mentioned the author of the guide is J. Duncan. The preface tells us a bit about their background, which is pretty fascinating. I mean,
Oh yeah,
they
definitely.
clearly know what they're talking about, but there's more to it.
Right.
So J. Duncan actually worked as a pharmacist for over 20 years.
Right, which I think is great for this guide.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, pharmacists, they interact with seniors all the time, so they really understand their needs
Totally.
and their challenges.
Exactly. And the preface mentions how that experience really inspired J. Duncan to create this guide to help seniors stay connected.
Yeah.
But it's not just their pharmacy background. They've also got experience developing healthcare software and are involved in all sorts of interesting things like making natural soaps, concrete decor, even organic gardening.
Wow. That is a diverse background.
Right. I mean, it's amazing. It really is. And there's this great line at the beginning of the guide that sums up their whole philosophy. It says, dedicated to those who believe every senior deserves to be connected, heard, and valued.
I love that. It really highlights why this guide exists.
And it really makes me want to check out the full ebook because it sounds like it's packed with useful information.
Yeah, for sure. This deep dive has given you the basics of using WhatsApp, but if you want more detailed instructions or run into specific questions, the full WhatsApp Guide for Seniors by J. Duncan is a great resource.
Yeah. So to you, our listener, you should now feel more confident about using WhatsApp to connect with your loved ones. We hope this deep dive has made it less intimidating and more accessible.
Absolutely. We encourage you to just give it a try. Once you take those first few steps, you'll realize how easy and enjoyable it can be.
Exactly. And on that note, here's a thought to ponder. Considering how important it is to stay connected, what other technologies that might seem complicated at first could actually open up a whole world of possibilities for you? Maybe there's something out there just waiting to be explored.
That's a great point to end on.
Thanks for joining us today, and happy chatting.
Bye, everyone.